Hi, everyone. Hey, welcome and thank you for joining with us for our weekly book study. Rupert Spira's book, Being Myself, is our book study, as most of you know. And thank you for being here. Just get your comfortable front row seat and we'll get started. Our co-host today is Jeff Farnsworth, and I was just mentioning to Susan that Jeff is not a stranger to me. He has been following Rupert for quite some time, and we met each other through a mutual friend. And Jeff, he hails from the Philadelphia, New Jersey area in the eastern United States, and he has a love for truth. And Rupert, as we do, we met each other in person at a Garrison retreat probably 4 or 5 years ago. Welcome, Jeff, and thank you for being our co-host this week.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. And we're looking at chapter 5 this week, the nature of ourself. And looks like we have the beginning of our group is here. It seems like we start out with about 150 and it grows to about 200 on a weekly basis. And then we have a lot of you that are watching by replay. And welcome to the live experience. If you're working and you're watching this later, we know that you're as much a part of it as the live as everyone here. That's
Gathering 80%. Connect.
okay. Let's unmute your mic, please, when you come in, if it happens to be open, and we'll try to catch it so that it doesn't disturb any of the rest of us. Alicia, I'm going to mute you. Thank you. And let's see. Rupert's not gonna be with us on February 9th. His schedule is changed a little bit. He's gonna be with us on March the 2nd. We're gonna have a longer time together. We're gonna have the book study at 12 Eastern, and then he's gonna come on after our book study with Jiffy Reed, and he's gonna give us another 60 or 75 minutes Q&A on March the 2nd. So we've adjusted the schedule a little. On February 9th, where Rupert was scheduled, I have an idea that we'll talk about our favorite quotes for all the chapters that were leading up to that chapter. I think up to chapter 8. So we're going to play with that a little bit. I'll give some more information on it as we get closer to February 9th. But that a little bit of a change in the schedule. And thank you for being here, everyone. And I guess let's get started with chapter 5. Jeff, what is it? I'm going to invite you to tell us what your favorite or highlights are on page 43. And what do you think?
Well, for one thing, there's a lot of favorites on here. I'll start with one though. In the first paragraph that really made an impression on me is that screen analogy that he uses quite frequently, which I really love. But the distinction that it's an aware screen. It's not just a screen that we're watching, but the screen itself is aware. So he starts to point to that idea that there's what we're aware of and us. The we, the I am are one. That's one of the things that stood out for me.
Well, let's pause there for just a minute, Jeff, because I got an email from a guy about a couple of hours ago that had a question about that, and I think it's a really good question, and we should just look at it for him, because he was mentioning that he wasn't, he's a bit confused about the movie screen, what the movie screen represents. And he says, does it represent our higher self? If so, do the thoughts, etc., that are projected upon it represent our lower self, ego? And I think we just want to clean that up for Franco a little bit, and invite Franco to just to have the direct experience. What is it that is aware of this experience right here? Or you could say, are you aware right now of this experience? And putting it into that context, that awareness is the movie screen. It's the movie screen, and all of the personal self, the body mind, personal self activity, what's occurring, the activity that's happening, the words that are being heard by my words or Jeff's words, or the content of any of the experience is the movie that goes on the screen of awareness. So awareness is always aware of experience. You cannot have an experience that awareness is absent. And therefore, it's like a movie screen. You can't have a movie you can't watch a movie if you don't have a screen first. The movie comes and goes, the screen stays, always remains the same. And that's the analogy of the movie screen. And I hope that helps you to remove that confusion a little bit, Franco. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Do you have anything
Yeah.
to add?
I mean, I don't know if it'll confuse it or not, but what I was getting is that it's not only the experience isn't just what's on the screen, but awareness, or the screen, is also aware of itself. In other words, the stuff that's on the screen is made of the screen. Or another way of saying that is what's in our experience that we're aware of is made of consciousness, or made of awareness.
Yes.
It's not separate.
Yeah. Yeah. There's several comments that we'll look at that are great comments. Thank you for chiming in on the board, everyone. We'll look at those in a few minutes. And thank you for that addition. That's just another piece of it. And Franco, I would just say from your question, just take it slow and be gentle on yourself, and just allow some of these ideas to sort of sink in. They will. Yeah. Jeff, what else do you have on this page?
Well, the other one is, I think it's another way of saying what we're just saying, that we can never be, it says, we can never be found or known as a thought, image, feeling, sensation, or perception. In other words, the mind can never really know awareness. The mind can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And just as the screen is neither separate from the movie, this is just what you were saying just now, it's never separate from the movie nor limited by it. We are not separate from experience, nor are we limited or conditioned by it. So whatever is happening in our experience, our essential self, our divine essence, as Connie put it, is changeless. It's not changed. It isn't altered by any of the experience that the body mind has. It's just a beautiful understanding and stabilized direct experience of our essence, our essential self. And you used the word, Franco, called the higher self. It's beyond that idea. It's beyond the idea of the higher self. It's the changeless presence of I am. It's awesome. Okay, what else do you have on 43, Jeff?
Well, like I say, I could go through every word in this, but it's just the pointing out that, again, that self-aware screen, that experience, he says, plays on the screen, and it's known by the screen, but it's also made of the screen.
Yeah.
Or awareness or consciousness. Yeah.
So biblical term, this is where you can never be separate from your source. There's never any separation. No matter what the bodysuit is doing, it is still absolutely arising out of awareness itself. Let's look at page 43. What do you have that jumps out for you on 43? I mean 44, Jeff.
Before, well, I love that part where he talks about it's just ordinary. It's not, this isn't something that we have to, do a whole self-improvement project to get to, or, that he talks about, it's not something we have to become. We're already that. I love that ordinary word, though, that it's just ordinary. We're not looking for, it's not something that's, quote, special and only certain people can get it. And you have to work forever to find it. And I love that. It's already here.
Yeah. Yeah. I had this conversation with Lisa a couple of days ago. In fact, I went back, opened my book, and went to this paragraph that says, this awareness, it's just what you said. It's not special. It's not just for certain people. It's not because Jeff or Bill or Susan or somebody that's a co-host or somebody that's writing comments that seems to know something. It's not for the special person. And I love this next piece, Jeff, on the third paragraph down, nor is this a description of how we might become if we meditate, if we sit in pose and go om. I mean, I love the oms. Those are fun.
We enjoy them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's not necessary to take you somewhere because you're already that. I love that. It just really cleans the house on the specialness.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also reminds me of that quote from St. Francis that what we already are what we're seeking.
Yeah. Yeah. What about the last paragraph? Did you highlight that one?
Yeah, I did. It really starts to, this is really interesting because it really starts to point to this whole idea of that awareness is timeless, ageless. It doesn't, because it doesn't change, and because it's always present. There's no age involved. There's no time involved. So that ageless idea really, it goes on because it also leads to some other of the other aspects of awareness, like peace and happiness. But that was that took me a while to get my head around it, but I get it.
Yeah. Well, in saying it, the awareness that knows our current experience is not different from that which knew our experience 10 minutes ago, 10 days, or 10 years ago. And
Exactly.
when you bring that in and reflect on it, it's why, if you do something silly sometime, like you're a guy and you think you're a little bit macho.
I've been known to do that.
And you're hanging out with teenagers that you want to kick their ass a little bit and outrun them or do something physical. Well, I did that once. I tried like outrunning these 18-year-olds when I was about 45. And I went jumping over about a 3-foot wall. I landed and completely wrecked my knee. Why? Because I thought I was 18. I thought I was still, because we have this sense, unless you look in the mirror, you don't think about how old you are.
Yeah, that reminds me. I mean, we've all probably had that experience that, that we don't feel our age. Our body does, but I mean, we don't feel that our age. And that is sort of an intuition about this whole idea that essentially we're ageless. This consciousness doesn't age. It's always the same.
Yes. So let's do that real quick. So if you just close your eyes, if this is new to you, this will be really cool. Close your eyes, and what is it that is aware of this experience, and connect with the awareness of experience. And then I ask you, does this awareness have an age? And internally you'll answer that. Does this awareness have a gender? And open your eyes, and those two questions, they always give you the evidence of what is being said right here. They always give you the evidence. There's no gender and there's no age. Awareness just is. What do you see on 45 that would be that you'd like to highlight, Jeff?
Well, we all talked about the age, and we talked about that nothing that takes place in our experience adds or removes anything from our essential nature. That line, which is second to the last paragraph. And that we are never aggrandized rather, or diminished by our experience. So in other words, what's happening in our experience is not having an effect on the awareness itself. It's not changing it, I should say.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And as we have this more understanding, and this is why I love these book studies and to look at the content of these ideas, because it helps us to keep our attention on the essential self. It helps us to come back to what's aware of this experience that's not affected by the experience.
Yes. And I like the way he's just pointing out that we, because he talks about that we're inherently fulfilled. The awareness or consciousness that we are, the I am, is inherently fulfilled. It's not lacking anything, which is another word for happiness.
Yes. Yeah. And I like the very last sentence on this page, Jeff. It says, the drama only turns into trauma.
When we're identified with it.
Yes, yes. Oh, the good point. Yeah, when we identify the I am with the drama, we experience the trauma.
Yeah,
because we've become the movie instead of remaining as the screen.
Yes.
Yeah, we've given our identity to the passing cloud. We've given our identity to the movie experience. I want to look at, Jeff, let's look at a couple of, there was a question I saw from our friend Rick S. Hi, Judy, please mute your mic. Thank you. Let's see. Rick says, question, comment. What is the relationship between ignorance and the nature of ourself? So, and then he gives a comment to that. So I guess to answer that question, what is the difference between the ignorance and the nature of ourself? Would you say, Jeff?
Well, the ignorance is the not being, not being the self, not being identified. In other words, where ignorance is not realizing the essential self.
Right.
That's what creates the ignorance.
Right. And ignorance is the ignoring of our essential self.
Yeah. Good way of saying it.
Yep. Yep. And then he says, peace and happiness are our deepest nature. Yet ignorance is not apart from reality, the screen. In fact, ignorance in all its many forms is only a problem from the perspective of ignorance. This is an understanding that the conceptual mind can never grasp comments. Okay. I like, I mean, it really does grab the ignorance of the bodysuit, the body mind, the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions. They're just the ignoring of the infinite beingness. And once we have the understanding, we're no longer ignoring that. We're letting those things happen, and we're not excluding or resisting them, and we're just allowing it to be what it is, because that brings us to our essential nature, which is what you just said, happiness.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? What do we have on page 46 that you would like to highlight? Oh, I love this page. I'm getting
Yeah.
whatever you don't pick up, I'm going to pick up.
Well, I just want to point out that I love that he uses that word shines, which I love, because that our unconditional awareness being shines in each of our minds. That it's illuminated. It radiates. I love that, because and he uses that quite a bit, and it shines. And in other words, he says sometimes he'll say is awareness shines as I am. So that was one of them. And the last sentence of that first paragraph, what is the nature of ourself before it is qualified by experience? In other words, what is the nature of ourself prior to thought? It's what's prior to before comes before.
Yes, yes. And as we contemplate this is why these book studies are so compelling to want to reread the content, because it reminds us of the truth of the statement, I am. And what is the nature of ourself before it is qualified by experience? What causes you to pause and contemplate the true I am. The I am, and then he follows that with the next paragraph, I am, and I know that I am. Right? Everyone, you can just pause, and we can all know that together. I am, and I know that I am. And the statement that Bill just made that came out of this bodysuit is not different or coming from a different place. It's the same I am. That's like blows my mind. That's how oneness is.
Yeah.
That's how the statement that Jesus said 2,000 years ago, I am one with the Father, you're one with me. This is where the oneness shows up.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I love that. Anyone that just like anyone that's new, just sort of contemplate that second paragraph and just rest in the statement that's being offered, because it's rich and it's the true self. What else do you have here on this page, Jeff?
Well, we already kind of touched on it, but that in the absence of thinking, we have no experience of age.
Yes.
It's only in our thinking that we do. So, and he also talks about that, and you mentioned earlier about there's no gender either.
Yes.
And really, he touches on that idea of that where there's no actual experience of time, which really is very much what they're talking about there is the now, right? I mean, there's only now. There's no present moment even. There's just
Right.
lots of present moments, and they're all now.
Yes.
They're all
Yes.
now. So he talks about that. It's the idea that I'm getting a lot from this is that it's what I said earlier, is prior to thought. If we get caught up in we'll never get there with thinking to think our way there.
Yes.
Even though that's what most of us, including me, try to do. I want to get this. Oh yeah, it's like, let me strain my brain a little bit.
Yeah.
But it isn't that kind of an experience.
Right.
That's not the understanding. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love this exercise. I learned this from Rupert. You know, if you're listening, you're watching without the use of memory. Tell us about yourself,
Yeah.
right? It goes right to a total stop. It suspends the mind from participating in what the now in this present I am moment. And that's just a beautiful way of just stopping the mind and being myself.
Yeah.
Let's see. Question about deep sleep. I want to look on the board a minute, Jeff. Let's see. Everything is awareness, is in awareness? Yes. Everything, Judy Yeomans says everything is in awareness. Totally. It's like everything shows up on the screen. And it comes and goes. Your 10-year-old self, your 20-year-old self, your 40-year-old self, it's showing up on the same now, present moment screen of awareness. Those experiences, they come and they go, and the awareness of experience always remains the same. Rick says at 12:10, nothing is apart or separate from reality. Our being awareness, full stop. Yep. We all have it. Yes, we are it. Yeah, true. No gender, no status. We are awareness. We are pure presence. Pure presence. Awareness is infinite. Judy said, never ending, all encompassing, and never changes. The reason I like to read these comments is because these are lovers of truth that are just expressing the understanding and the fluid love for these statements. Meg says, yes, my 84-year-old husband keeps climbing ladders because he's still 20 years old. Keep going, man. That's funny. I love that. Bill, please say that statement again. I'm not sure what statement you were talking about. Who is the audience? Just Manfred, to me, ignorance is the belief that consciousness is a personal attribute of a body-mind. Yep. Yep, it is. It's temporary. It's the personal self-identity. It's where the I thinks that it's this and what this thinks. Awareness is the space between thoughts. Jenny, good to see you, Jenny. Hi. Rick, ignorance is the play of awareness. Oh, yeah, I love the way you say that. It's natural. It is only a problem from the point of view of an apparent separate self that suffers as a result.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Thank you, Jenny. It's good to see you. Franco said, Bill, the way you explain it is so simple. It makes it easier for you to relax into the I am. Yes. Yes. We seem to think we are supposed to have a big bang experience before entering into the eternal oneness awareness I am. I know. Yeah, that's true. And this understanding, you know, I'm learning just like all of you, and we are this idea of relaxing. This is just the sort of the dissolution of the personal self, and we're relaxing as this aware presence, this I am-ness. So let's look at page, wow, we have so many comments. I don't know if we'll get to all of them, but I'll try to pick them out as we go. What do we have on page 47 that you want to look at, Jeff?
Well, once again, he refers to the pure knowledge I am. There is no age, time, shape, color, size, all that. But I like that last part, the last sentence there in that paragraph. It has no form and therefore cannot legitimately be named, and yet it is ourself. What that reminded me of is that quote from the Tao. The name that can be named is not the essential name. In other words, yeah, it's naming is when we name things, it's a conceptual layering of, some interpretation, but it isn't our essential. It isn't coming from the source or the essential self.
Yeah. Yeah, and that includes God. That includes the word God. We gave God that name because, and the truth is that God is this awareness. If we're going to give an identity to it, it is the essential self that everyone has or is as awareness.
Yeah, spirit. I'm not sure I'm saying it's the divine presence in each of our minds or our hearts
and experience.
Yeah,
it's arising from that same presence, that same I amness. Fern Wolf has a question. Being awareness is absence of memory? Question mark. That's a good question, Fern. I would say that being awareness is what allows memory to occur. I wouldn't say being awareness is absence of memory, because memory arises within awareness, and awareness gives the act or the mind gives the mind the memory, because everything happens in awareness. So I don't know if I would say it that way. Jenny Beal probably has a brilliant way to say it.
It's almost like the memory is made of awareness and from awareness. It's not separate.
Yeah. Cool. That sounds right on. Andrew, if the mixture of self and qualities of experience give rise to a separate self, how do we divest the qualities of experience? If the mixture of self and qualities of experience give rise to a separate self, how do we divest the qualities of experience? Well, awareness begins to reveal itself, and that as an activity of awareness automatically is the divesting of the experience. The experience moves to the background and awareness moves to the foreground. But when we get mixed up in all of these kinds of ways to describe it, we're focused on the thing, on the experience, instead of the awareness of the experience. So just stay there. What do you have on page? At the last two paragraphs, the second to the last paragraph on page 47. Rupert says, we are the awareness with which sensations and perceptions are known. So this answers that question we had a minute ago. In which they appear, so we are the awareness in which all of these experiences appear, and ultimately out of which they are made. Just what you just said, Jeff. Yep. Let's look at page 48. What'd you find over there?
Well, let's see. He talks about the formlessness of that's one of the things, like he's talking about, if we stay close to the evidence of experience, close to the knowledge of ourself, we experience no form within ourself, which gets us into the formless awareness. And he often will say this: we have to use some of these words as a concession, to what we're trying to get to. But the formlessness reminded me, just it basically reminds me of that quote from Nisargadatta, where he says, "When we look inside and I see nothing, that is wisdom." It's there's the formlessness aspect of it, and that was one. And it also points to that, which he's really pointing to, is that shift from background to foreground shift.
Yeah.
There's right. So
yeah, when we give it's what we give our attention to, and then we get lost in it. But more and more, as we become established in this understanding, the objects of experience and the contents of experience, they move to the background as a new default. Yeah. And that's when we're experiencing more and more of the happiness that we truly are, without having to have a new car or a new girlfriend or husband or house or object.
Yeah. And he says awareness is without form, therefore it has no limit, which gets into the limitlessness of, there is no limit to ourselves, to the awareness that we are, which is going to lead to some other issues that he points to, or other conditions, I should say, he points to in a moment.
Yeah.
He goes back to mentioning that we're ageless in that part. And he also, the other part of it, let me see, there was something in there about that without fear. Yeah, that part, the bottom paragraph, he talks about awareness is without fear, because it can't be harmed, or there's nothing, it's unlimited. In other words, there's no limit to awareness. So therefore, fear is basically the fear, of death, ultimately. But when there's, well, at least that's what I'm getting from what he said. It's awareness cannot be disturbed by our experience.
Yes, yes.
Which
and
is fearless.
What I really like about this idea that's being used right here is that nothing disturbs awareness, nothing disturbs the essential self, including stupid things that you did in the past, stupid ideas, stupid things that you say, guilt, fear, shame, all of those things. This pure presence and awareness is unaffected by any of those silly things that we did as children or yesterday. And when we can understand that and rest in it, what happens is this awareness dissolves the experience that is held to hold on to those ideas, to those beliefs and those things that make us suffer.
Yeah. I sometimes refer to that as a case of mistaken identity.
Yes.
In other words,
yes,
we're identifying with our memory or our story, or and not who we really are.
Yep. Let's see. There's a statement on the board here from iPad. 1 Corinthians, Paul was saying that love does not come to an end ever. Yeah, we're love. Our essential nature, the awareness of love's presence, is love. This awareness is the same thing as as what Paul said, that love doesn't do this, love doesn't do that, love doesn't. Well, all of those things are done. They arise out of awareness. Even the stupid things we do are rising out of awareness and are not separate from it. However, the awareness is the place that we can always move our attention to, and it's like resting in awareness is the same thing as resting in God.
Yeah.
Let's see what else on page 49.
Okay. Well, he's talking about peace. The lack of agitation is peace. And it's the peace that's prior to our experience, as we mentioned a little while ago. It's the experience of awareness. It isn't agitated. It's like a calm lake. It's just peace. That's who we are. We are peace. Just like you said a moment ago, we are love. We are peace. That's,
Yeah.
And then, so I don't know if he says it in this paragraph or not, but I know that he has, and I've seen it other times. They sometimes refer to this as the peace that paths understanding.
Yeah.
It's a peace that's beyond the intellectual concept and of what we think of as peace. We can't think our way there again.
Exactly. We can be there.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a question on the board, or a statement at 12:30 from Jan Stevens Music. Can you explain the first paragraph on the bottom of page 47? We are the awareness with which sensations. So let's just look back there real quick for Jan. We are the awareness with which sensations and perceptions are known, in which they appear, and ultimately out of which they are made. So we are the awareness. We are that which those things, those sensations come and go. If you're aware of a sensation, if you usually close your eyes and you become aware. If I ask you if you're aware of your foot, your attention goes to the sensation that seems to want to locate a body part, but it's really only a location of sensations. Sensations come and go. The awareness of the sensations are where the sensation arises from, and when it leaves, awareness remains as it always is. Sensations and perceptions are known by what is aware of them, in which they appear. They appear in awareness. And when, if you have a headache, you're aware of the headache, you're aware of the sensation. It comes and it goes, and awareness remains as it is. So it appears in awareness, in the awareness of the experience. Awareness is the changeless I am presence. It's your essential self. And I hope that helps to answer that, Jan. Jenny said it's not identifying with memory. I think you might be answering that. Being awareness, we have memory, but awareness does not become attached to it. Awareness, we're going back to the memory thing, it looks like. So let's just keep going. We have about 15 minutes left, and we will pick up on some of these questions. We have so many questions, I don't think we'll get to them all, but let's look at what's on page 48, unless you have any comments that you would like to add, Jeff.
No, that's I'm good. I think we already covered 48, I think. Didn't we?
Okay, we did. We looked at 48. We're on. We looked at the bottom of 49, right?
No, we just started at 49, I think.
Okay,
We
you're
talked
right.
about Yeah.
You're right.
We just talked about the piece that's, that passes understanding, which is the first paragraph relates to.
Exactly.
And, this, he also, in that whole, that's to continue with that, is, the awareness is inherently and unconditionally fulfilled, which is another definition of happiness. It's fulfillment.
Yes.
So,
To know that brings you to the essential self as happiness.
yeah.
And I want to go back to 48 because we didn't look
Yeah.
at the fourth paragraph down on 48 where Rupert talks about just as the space of the room is not generated by the four walls, nor does it share their destiny. So if you just imagine for a moment, if you're in a room that has four walls and a ceiling, just imagine that awareness is like the space in the room, and then remove the walls and the ceiling. Where is awareness now? Well, if you're in a condo, take the whole roof off. If you're on the 10th floor and there's 20, take all 20 floors off, and you're in the unlimitedness of space that goes out and includes all the galaxies. So put yourself into that awareness, right? That's a mind blower right there.
Yeah, I also like when he talks about that and says that, whatever happens in that room isn't going to disturb the space in the room. The space doesn't care what's going on in that room.
Yes.
It's not, and it'll be this, you, like you were saying, it's, if you took the whole building away, it's the space is still undisturbed.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah.
And I've heard, I mean, this is where I heard that from Rupert also. Bring furniture in. Bring more stuff in. And this is like bringing thoughts into your mind or experiences into your experience. They come and they go just like furniture, but the space that they come into is unaffected by all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he says at the top of page 49, second paragraph, and just as nothing that takes place inside a room adds anything to the space, nothing that takes place in experience adds anything to ourself. We are inherently and unconditionally fulfilled. Thus, in the experience of happiness, what you just said, we taste or know our true nature. It knows itself as it essentially is. These are all just descriptions, metaphors,
Yeah.
ideas to bring us to the same place that we never leave, that we always is. What else do you see here that you want to talk about, Jeff?
But just to reiterate what we were saying earlier about how even in the midst of our experience, there's our pure awareness is present in that. And there's the last sentence, I think, our being is seeking to come back to itself, to know or taste itself again, to recognize itself. Our being is, and that reminds me of the story, the prodigal son. It's coming back after it's going out and doing all the objective stuff.
Yes, yes.
It's coming back to the source.
Yes, yes, and we are that. And Rupert uses that that story the same way to establish that the pointing of the I am, of I awareness am. I want to grab something that Jenny wrote on the board about memory. We can think of the separate self as being made out of a set of persistent habitual memories.
Yeah.
And the I of the essential self attaches itself to those memories and brings in the story that it holds on to and says, okay, this is my story and I'm keeping it.
I'm sticking to it.
Right. Okay. Last paragraph on 49. Peace and happiness are not experiences that happen to us from time to time, or that alternate with agitation and suffering. They may be eclipsed by the content of experience, but they are never absent. So peace and happiness may be eclipsed or diluted by, merged with the content of experience, but they're never absent. They're always available. Sometimes it's hard to find because we're so invested in the experience, but they're never not there. It's never not there. What else do you have? Anything else on 49?
No, that's much it.
Oh, Jeff, I'm looking at 1237. Amy said, awareness exists prior to Alzheimer's. Alzheimer is an experience in unlimited, eternal, abiding, pure, pristine awareness. I would say amen on a what's today? On a Wednesday. Right. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Amy. Did somebody mention dementia? Oh, Julie said something about dementia. And then Jenny said something. I don't see where Julie is talking about. But Julie, dementia only affects mind. Awareness is unaffected. Yes. I saw that when my mother suffered from Alzheimer's. Yeah. Thank you, Amy and Jenny and Julie. Comment from Rick West. Our greatest tools and blessing, relaxed attention and authentic interest. That's grace. Awesome. Comment from Rick. You can disturb or harm that which does not exist objectively in time or space. You can disturb or harm that which does not exist objectively in time or space. Jenny et al., what about in deep sleep, where awareness itself seems to subside? Oh, that's from Melanie to Jenny. Jenny probably answered that. Melanie, it's mind that disappears in deep sleep, not awareness. Yep, I've heard Rupert and Francis talk about this. We awake when we hear the alarm clock. Right. And Andrew said the self is not awareness because awareness cannot be limited, whereas the self mixed with experience becomes limited. Yes. And Patty said, we are the activity of awareness, either lost in the content of life or awake to the fact that we are God made manifest. Yeah, and that's the same thing as saying that we are awareness. We are arising. The activities of thoughts are thoughts, experiences, feelings, emotions that are arising out of the awareness, arising out of God, out of what God is. Amy says, we are home dreaming of exile. Yes, that sounds like a Course quote. Franco, this is so powerful that it can be so overwhelming. Yes, when you think about it, how power-filled you are when you are connected to presence. The mind takes that and runs with it. The mind puts a label on it. This is so powerful. Awareness just is, and that essential, that understanding brings us into what you were just talking about, Jeff, as it brings us relaxing into this, brings us to the peace and happiness of our true self.
Yeah.
That's what essentially what meditation is. It tries to do. I really like that meditation has been spotlighted to be not something that we do, but it's something that occurs in the relaxing as the personal self. Giving attention automatically brings us to that peace that we're seeking, or the happiness of our true self. Let's see. Martin says, peace like we awake from sleeping. Yes. We are the cause of the effect we experience so that we can choose to experience only love. Question. Let's see. Awareness from Jenny. Awareness and consciousness are synonyms. They are not mind. Awareness is the reality that perceives the activity of mind. Thank you, Jenny. Francis, to everyone, we can bring the true self into any experience when we are aware. So when someone is identified with pain or suffering, we can bring healing of love and peace into that experience. I wouldn't actually say it that way, Francis. I would say that it's already there. And when we're resting in or as awareness, and there's suffering that's occurring, just bring it into that space. Just allow it to be exactly as it is without wanting it to be different, without touching it, and it will happen by itself. The suffering will melt away as one is relaxed as aware presence. It just happens by itself. It happens by not trying to change it, by not trying to do anything with it. Let's see. What else is on the, any other? Susan Telford says, we think we are looking for a great job, a great man, a new car, but actually it is our being just coming back to itself to know itself again. Yeah. It's so funny. These bodysuits are so habitual. You know, they get so happy. I get so happy when I find something that on Amazon for the price I want to pay. I get so happy. And then when I get it and I'm happy when I open it, and then I'll go, okay, what's next? So we're so conditioned. Jennifer says, just as nothing that takes place in rooms adds anything to the space, I have heard and felt energy that remains in a room after something has taken place and can also be in furniture. But I am seeing now that perhaps this energy is just thought forms that remain, so are not awareness. Well, I don't know. I think there's some truth in that, because that's sort of like residue, and even, you know, objects of experience, physical matter, it's still awareness, and there conversations. You can walk into a room where somebody was just arguing. You feel the lingering vibration of that experience. And I don't know, maybe Jenny can help us with that, or someone that's brilliant like Rick West, but or you, Jeff. I don't know. I don't know how that lingering is comes into play, but it is still the play that's arising out of awareness. And
That's right.
it seems to have a lingering effect. And, you know, Jesus said 2,000 years ago, and I think this is so true even today, if I didn't speak up, even the rocks would cry out. Right? And you can have a connection with whatever is in a rock experience, and it somehow can transmit to you. And I know we've gotten way off course. I'm sorry, everyone. Let's move back to the last paragraph of this chapter on page 50. You want to read that, Jeff?
Well, this page, yeah, peace and happiness are not even qualities of ourself. They simply are ourself. Every time we experience peace and happiness, we are experiencing the shining of our own being. I love that. All we have to do basically is to see that the peace and the fulfillment and happiness is prior to our experience and independent of our experience.
Yeah.
that we are that peace and happiness,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And this is why if there's an upset or there's an occurrence that's happening, you heard or saw something on the news, if you just rest as awareness, man, that's your sanctuary. That's your peace. You are the peace and happiness that you seek, and it will just dissolve and bring in and love all these crazy things that are happening that are not separate either, but it'll bring you back to that essential peace and happiness that you're looking for. Well, we've come to the end of our time together for this chapter. Thank you, Jeff, for your brilliant
My
co-hosting.
pleasure. My pleasure. Love to be with you all.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for being here. We hit close to 200 today and appreciate that. It's good to have you all come back, and we'll see you next week for chapter 6. And let's see, I said who was our co-host next week. It is the memory of our eternity, Rosalind Rourke. Hi, Rosalind. It's good to see you, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.